First off, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on whose land we're meeting tonight. I also want to acknowledge my own people, the Nyimba people from Brewarrina in Western New South Wales, where we're currently running an adult literacy campaign. It's amazing listening to these stories. It almost makes me want to give, and I probably will give at the end of this because they're just such good stories that we've heard tonight. I want to start in a different space. I want to start with telling you what we'll do with the money. I'm doing that because when I was a kid and somebody would buy me a bag of jelly beans, I'd always leave the black ones till last because they're the ones I liked the most. So all the rest I didn't like too much, and I hate asking for money. So I'm going to do that first and get out of the road. And then I'll share a couple of stories with you. What we could do, the Literacy for Life, with $10,000 or $20,000 is lease a motor vehicle, a form of transport, to deliver our students or our participants to the classroom on a daily basis. If we got 30 to 40,000, we could either buy a second-hand motor transport or lease a vehicle for 2 years. With 100,000 or 200,000, if you're feeling that generous by the end of the night, we could buy a couple of those things. We could probably buy buses. I want to tell you some stories, and I want to work backwards with my talk tonight, purely and simply because the people I work with, when they look at letters, they're jumbled. They've got to work their way through them. They've got to almost work backwards to figure the story out. And that's a challenge every day of their lives that they go through. I want to tell you some stories before I tell you what we do. In a place called Wilcannia, where I first started to work with my colleagues on this adult literacy campaign model, a young girl out there hadn't been seen sober for well over 5 years. She was about to go to jail for assaulting police, and I went to court and asked them would they release her to come to the classes, and I would be the person that would go her guarantor for the time she came. That young lady was considered, she was a young lady of 40, was considered critically illiterate, which means she didn't know what letters were. She couldn't tell you A was A or B was B. She came into the campaign, and after 11 weeks of being in the classes, she went and took a job at the local shire, filling in for the receptionist, answering the phone and taking messages. When that lady came back, she went and did her bronze medallion and managed the swimming pool in Wilcannia, a town that regularly enjoys 51-degree heat. She then, when we started another intake, our third intake into the campaign in Wilcannia, she actually came along and was the literacy coordinator for that particular intake. That's one story. Another story is of a young guy in Bourke who came along and did the literacy classes with us. He was another young man about to go to prison. That young man today is the chairperson of the Police Advisory Committee into Policing Aboriginal Communities in Bourke. He came in and did 11 weeks with us. He was a very, very angry young man, and I think just the fact that I was too old for him to sort of beat up on, they appointed me as his mentor as well. I think one of the best stories to come out of this is a little town called Angonia. Angonia has 120 people. We eradicated adult illiteracy in Angonia. In fact, we did more than that. For the first time in the history of the school, kids were borrowing books. Their mothers and fathers were borrowing books with them. This is my favourite story, purely and simply because in that school the principal said, if I could be relieved from my duties, I would come and lobby for the Literacy for Life Foundation. Because what had happened in that school, the children in years 1 to 3, when they went on their long break over the Christmas holidays, came back and their literacy had actually improved. That is probably the only school in Australia where that would happen. And that was because everybody was so, I guess, embroiled in the program and so enthusiastic about the program that they read to their children for that 6 weeks of the holidays. The model we're using is the Cuban Yes I Can model. This model has worked in 28 countries around the world, and up to 7 million people become literate using this particular model. In Brewarrina, where we're currently working, which is my hometown, and it's such a pleasure to be able to take it back, in that town we're graduating people at a rate of 76%. People that are running courses at certificate level 1, either through TAFE or through private providers of education, are graduating people in that particular area at 10%. This program works. It's been proven around the world to work. What I'm about to say to you is this: literacy is everybody's right, and literacy is everybody's business. And in the little bit of time I've got left, I want to say this. I could have come here and simply asked you for money to support our campaign and to support us getting those people to the classroom. What I want to ask you is this, because this is what I want the most. I want a relationship. I want the Aboriginal community to have a relationship with you as an individual, with you as a company, with you as a society. Because that's what will make it work. That's what will make it sustainable in those communities, that long-term relationship. Without having a relationship, what we have is some people are benefactors and other people are beneficiaries. That's not sustainable, and nor does it have much integrity. And I wouldn't want to deliver that sort of relationship onto our communities. We have to be a part of this. We have to be a part of the solution. But in order to do that, if you want to be a part of that solution, then have a relationship with us as well. Thank you.